Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Aran Kinswoner, and with me I have Zvika. Hi Zvika.
Hi Aran.
We are excited for today's topic. This is a second webinar covering Codeless SELENIUM testing for web applications. The previous one was, I would say, a couple of weeks ago, and today we want to take Codeless SELENIUM testing to the next level and present some new and advanced capabilities that can help mature your entire continuous testing activities and complement other SELENIUM code-based testing that you are doing with Perfecto and even without. Before I start drilling into the topics, just a few housekeeping. Like in any webinar, we encourage all of you to use the Q&A panel and chat with us. We are ready to accept any challenges, questions, and we'll try to follow up on all the questions during and after the webinar. We are also going to run one short poll during the webinar. Appreciate your participation. Like again, every other webinar, we're going to make all of the material, slides, and recording available to all of you who attended and registered to this webinar. As mentioned, my name is Aran Kinswoner. I'm the Chief Evangelist and author at Perfecto, blogger, speaker, author of these two books, together with the help of my colleague Zvika. Hi Zvika again.
Hi Aran. Pleasure to be here today. So I work with Perfecto and lead the global sales engineering team. Work with our customers globally, Fortune 500 companies in the US, Fortune 2000 companies across the world, mainly helping them, optimize their continuous testing using Perfecto's smart solution. And was honored also to be a contributor to the Continuous Testing for DevOps Professional book.
Excellent. And you have some serious background in product management, which I think is important to this conversation, because we're going to talk about the pipeline, the DevOps pipeline, and you have been actually executing the entire pipeline for Perfecto and also in the past. So your experience and insights will also be useful. So definitely I encourage all of you online to stay until the end. We have exciting content for you. So in today's agenda, we are going to do a short recap of the previous webinar, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page with few of the things. One of them is the objective behind using Codeless, why it's important, why we in Perfecto invested in making this solution available and complementing the other SELENIUM tools that we support. We're going to talk a bit about the personas and some of the benefits to the entire continuous testing personas that are using Codeless when they do so. And then we're going to do an interesting technical demo showing how you can actually plug Codeless testing into your CI. Before we start, I just want to make sure that everyone is on the same page with the definition of continuous testing. And when I typically, and also in the book, when I talk about continuous testing, I usually underscore two main points here, and these are the business risks. I believe that when you have to deal with testing at scale within DevOps across different teams and features, and the time is quite an issue for you, you need to be very smart about what you're testing, what are you automating, and what will bring you the maximum value from a business risk identification, especially upon each code fix and upon each job that runs from within CI. So for me, continuous testing is all about identifying as soon as possible business risk associated with quality and sending them as fast feedback back to the developers. As presented in the previous webinar, what I am seeing, and keep me honest, Zvika as well, what we are seeing actually in the market when we are dealing with continuous testing practitioners in a DevOps reality, we see three main personas. We see obviously the software developer who is contributing a lot into the quality of his products, whether it's web or mobile, and he's contributing either through unit testing, acceptance testing, code analysis. There are a wide range of quality activities that developers contribute through. Then we have the SDETs, we have the software developer in testing, which are the test automation gurus. These are the guys who understand and know how to write code or test code in Selenium, Appium, and all the other test automation frameworks. These are Java developers in most cases, or Python. And then we have the business manual testers. These are the guys that, in my mind, are, I would say, not the bottleneck, but definitely the ones that have the opportunity these days, especially with tools like Perfecto, Codeless, to become more involved in the overall testing activities, automate as much as possible their exploratory and manual testing, so they become part of the entire pipeline activities, and B, they reduce the overall time that they spend in the testing per each software iteration.
So I think around that, one of the biggest challenge that we see in the market, and of course, we're naming here all the relevant personas, but think about, any executive that need to build the team to run those types of tests that we're talking about. There are two main, concerns here. On the one side, there is budget constraint, that, the customer of any size of organization that we usually talk with has this budget constraint. And on the other hand, the skill set. And you need to kind of balance between the two. Advanced, computer science software engineers are expensive on the one hand, and they can deliver high quality code and build test automation at scale. But this is not scalable from the budget perspective. While business testing is relatively cheap, but it is not aligned with today's DevOps desired state and the ability to automate and run faster.
Yeah.
So there should be a way in between to resolve those conflicts, and we believe that technology can dramatically bridge on these gaps. And Codeless falls exactly into this kind of box where business testers can and would be able to be part of the CI/CD pipeline and be part of that automation process that is happening and transforming the testing market today.
Definitely, Tzvika, and I think that when we often see, DevOps definitions, the DevOps manifesto, they all talk about the collaboration and the synchronization between people, process, and technology, and that's exactly what you were saying. There are, challenges in pricing and budget, and there is also the risk around the skill set that is available throughout the entire organization. So when you can balance the technology that fits both the processes, which are agile in most cases, and the people skill set, that's when you actually position yourself to mature furthermore your continuous testing and hence also the DevOps maturity for your product. Unfortunately, and that's the objective, or what led to the objectives of Perfecto behind launching Perfecto Codeless, is the following. We've just described the different personas, but when you visualize these personas in the phases of DevOps, and you see that developers and dev engineers, if you like, are very active in the coding phase, the very early phases of the iteration, the software iteration, and they do a bunch of things like unit testing, build acceptance testing, and they use a specific set of frameworks, Selenium, Protractor, WebDriver IO. Some are using Puppeteer and other headless browser testing frameworks. This is fine, but this is a very small amount of test coverage that contributes to the overall quality assessment of the product. then you have the SDETs and the functional test engineering, and they are in charge of functional testing and non-functional testing, but as a market average, both the developers and the SDETs reach up towards, I would say, 60-65% test automation. That is not always, by the way, stable and with high value. Okay, this leaves an opportunity of around 30% test automation that today is either not being conducted, or when it's conducted by these guys, the business testers, right down below here, it's not done in the right time within the cycle, or it's done manually, so the feedback is either not being delivered or it's too late to be even acknowledged and taken into the consideration when we release software to the market. So this is the unoptimized continuous testing model as we see today, seeing all the three different personas across this pipeline or the software iteration. It's very simple to visualize these three personas collaborating and working together when we match this process also with their skill set and technology. And this is where Perfecto, Codeless, and frameworks like Cucumber or BDD, and Perfecto also has the Quantum BDD framework to support this objective, comes into play. When you bring the business testers and allow them to take some responsibility of test automation through the highest valuable test scenarios, whether they're exploratory or specific business flows that are being done manually, you win several times. You win by including these guys into the pipeline, you win by having a shorter release cycle, and you win by having less flakiness in the overall continuous testing. And this does not replace these frameworks on the left hand that are used by SDETs and developers. SDETs and developers shall and should continue using these frameworks written in Java, JavaScript, or other languages, but they need to make sure that these test cases are always up to date, very robust, very stable, and consistent in the results that they produce back, but they need to also allow time and scale for the business testers to join the party. Once these personas work together in sync within the same pipeline, and Zvika will soon show how it's done in real life, you'll get a set of outcomes which can mature your overall DevOps continuous delivery processes.
So, we're asked from time to time by customers and prospects about, how far can Codeless actually go, and can Codeless replace in many aspects advanced SELENIUM or Appium based tests. And I think that there is a fine line between things that are considered as simple and business testing, which are, being replaced naturally by Codeless. And there are advanced capabilities. Think about loops and advanced kind of logic structures of testing that requires, by the end of the day, they require some level of coding, even if it happens within Codeless. So these advanced logic, test cases, I think that it still makes sense that those will be created by, professional, coders. Again, there will always be exceptions, but I think that 85% of business testing can still be replaced today. That's a significant portion of a huge market that is still, pushing some of the tests to the end of the sprint and run that in a heavy labor-based manual process. And I think that resolve a significant gap in the market today that can really, as you mentioned, join the automation party.
Excellent. And I think, you will actually demonstrate it in very few minutes. I think that also, while Codeless fits the business testers, we have few customers who already started using Codeless, and we see developers also enjoying some of the benefits of Codeless. And this enjoyment comes from the time to script, the time it takes to create an end-to-end scenario. And developers often do not have the right amount of time to write in Java to build the SELENIUM grid and get the fast feedback. So also for developers, we do see some benefits of using Codeless to also expedite their time to value and the feedback that they, want to get from coding that they've just completed. So when we introduced Codeless, and we spoke a bit about a few of these things in the previous webinar, but I think that it's important to see these all major benefits, and I'm sure that there are a few others, but in my mind, when you think about what organizations can benefit from introducing or building on top of the code-based artifacts, also codeless testing, these are the 6 main points. The first one is obviously increase the test automation coverage by adding all of the manual, at least I would say 80 to 85% of the manual scenarios that today are flaky, takes too much time, are error prone, but because they are done manually and so forth, this can be added into the pipeline through test automation. The maintenance, and Zvika is seeing it on a daily basis, takes about 15% of testing time. So think about the time that you can get back by having a less dependent framework to maintain on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, so 15% is kind of a conservative estimation. We say that it's something that's somewhere between 15 to 25% of the time that is being spent on maintaining script and dealing with changes that happens also from development side. So a developer is changing the position of a button, the text over some button, those UI changes and some functional changes that happens break a lot of tests. This is like the flakiness impact that we usually see among test automation. And there is a true need to reduce the time and focus more on innovation, more on creation of new test automation across all the teams. It's relevant for the business testers, it's relevant for the automation testers. Everyone are looking for a solution that will improve, and the current state and bring more efficiency to the process.
Yeah, and I think that, and I mentioned it earlier, the matching between people, process, and technology. This is not just a statement. When you look at DevOps and trying to actually bring into life the statement of quality is everyone's responsibility, now I think this is coming to play because you see all the 3 personas contributing to quality, care about quality, and actually are supporting test automation, which is the enabler for continuous testing, which is the enabler to DevOps and continuous delivery. So this is another win-win benefit of Codeless. In addition, and not less important, Codeless complements code-based testing and also adds capabilities of advanced coding techniques when needed. And I think Zvika covered it just a few minutes ago, when you need to build advanced codeless scripts and you need to inject some code, JavaScript code or some other things, prerequisites of your environment. This is also something that you can do through Codeless, but also through code, so one complements the other. Next, and also critical to continuous testing, is the integration of Codeless into the CI pipeline, working with schedulers, with all the leading CI servers. We will show you just a few of these examples. We support a bunch of CI servers. We'll just show you 2 out of many in this webinar. So this is a very critical aspect, because if you are creating shadow codeless testing that runs on a local machine and it's not part of the entire pipeline and does not reflect in the overall quality visibility dashboard, then you are losing in the fast feedback loop. So obviously, by having both the code-based SELENIUM testing and codeless report to the same dashboard, this is a huge benefit, and also something that our customers actually insisted on. This is why we baked everything into one solution. Last and also not least is the faster creation, and you will see we don't need to state it. We will show you live in a demo in just a few minutes how you can create an end-to-end exploratory or smoke test in just a matter of minutes and execute it on a SELENIUM grid of a bunch of desktop virtual machines. I'm talking about minutes here. When Zvika is going to show you that, keep in mind or take under consideration if you online are a Selenium developer, feel free to estimate how much time would have taken you to do the exact same activities, setting up the Selenium grid, connecting it to a CI server or a scheduler, creating the script end-to-end with advanced validations and assertions. Zvika is going to show you that you can do it in few minutes.
So, you know, when we present Codeless to people that have coding skills and they know how to write, advanced Selenium script, this is not a replacement for the ability to create the script or to build your own test automation. This is something that becomes an efficiency and productivity tool for these guys. So when they have, their own story points that they need to deliver and code that, of course, is in the background of those story points, they have their own kind of pressure and then day-to-day activity. And testing becomes, in some cases, I would even call it a burden. It's not that they cannot do it, it's not their main focus. Their focus is to deliver code. And we want to make sure that testing is not a liability and testing brings value. And these guys understand that by using Codeless tool to have a very quick recording of the tested functionality can replace the need to build a solid Selenium script and then also maintain it over time. The alternative, if they don't have enough time, they just don't test in many cases and shift the problem to the right to some QA teams to deal with that in later stages during, regression and integration tests. And then if there are issues and there are bugs that are found in these stages, it requires those people to change context later on down the road in order to fix those things instead of doing that, on spot immediately or in proximity to the actual development of the functionality.
Yeah, and I spoke with a few guys. I was just finishing few conferences over the past few weeks, and I had people measuring or comparing the amount of defects that are found during the development cycle and the amount of defects that are found either in production or through user acceptance testing, UAT, and the like, and we put them under a bucket of escape defects. And when you see the amount of defects that are, escaping to production or too late in the cycle, which is sometimes greater than the ones that are found during the development, you understand that there is too much manual activities that simply cannot fit in the overall iteration, and this is where you start to see coverage issues, defects that are escaping to production. This is why I believe that when you can leverage all the DevOps resources for testing in the cycle, in the CI, this is where you decrease this escape defect rate and can, enjoy a much, quiet night without any escalations. And I think that that's a nice summary slide of the three personas working together. You can imagine a squad working in an office, and you see a bunch of developers and SDETs scripting in Selenium or Appium or other framework together with the business testers who is doing codeless automation. All is being delivered to one pipeline through CI or other schedulers in one single report. That's how continuous testing, in my mind, in today's modern DevOps reality should look like. And don't take just my word for it. There is a picture in my mind says it all, and this is for my personal reporting. You can see that through a scheduler, I have a set of activities. One of them is running Selenium web application on few mobile devices, actually real mobile devices in the Perfecto cloud. It happened yesterday, together with codeless testing, also codeless Selenium that is running on different browsers, and all delivers the same output or the same results in one single UI for executives and managers to take action. So that's, in my mind, how you leverage all the personas in one single solution to get the highest and maximum test coverage and visibility.
So think about that manual tester that up until now had to run in a sequential mode, one after the other, a set of manual test cases that are running against different environments, against different platforms, again and again and again. This process is one of the main reasons that organizations cannot reduce the release frequency and release software faster because they are heavily dependent on that manual regression process that happens by the end of the cycle. With Codeless, those business testers can actually record once their test case and run it in parallel, execute that as part of the pipeline, and get their entry ticket really to this, DevOps and continuous testing world by automating and getting, to a significant scale and meaningful scale that can help them really identify issues early enough in the process as part of the cycle in terms of testing.
Definitely. And when you want or consider starting with codeless testing, again, with Perfecto or without, these are the things that you need to consider. One, you need to start small. You need to build a baseline of good test cases that A, are bringing you great value, you know that from history, and B, they can solve some coverage issues for you, and B, as a foundation to build on for future and more advanced scenarios. You need to mark them as codeless just to A, avoid duplication, but also from future slicing, dicing, measuring value of this test, exactly like I've shown you in the previous slide. You can here differentiate the tests that are coming from code from SELENIUM and the ones that are running through codeless in one single view, and you can see which is flaky, which is bringing you more value. It's very important in my mind to know that you are continuously improving and measuring yourself. Then you need to be smart in the way that you select which tests to automate, how you automate them, how you reuse components to reduce the complexity and error points or failure points in the loop. Use robust object locators. In Perfecto Codeless, you don't need to actually have this bullet. It's baked into the product through machine learning and AI algorithms. So we take care of all the object locator management, and we'll show it to you live in a few seconds. Tagging and reporting for tracking, also it's a given. Only when you accomplish these three first steps and you feel good about the scripts, only then connect them through your scheduler, through the CI, Jenkins server, or others, so it runs continuously upon each code commit or as part of your regression schedule. Also, you need to make sure that you identify some maintenance points just to make sure that you are not wasting time with tests, even if they are codeless, that either are obsolete and you don't need to run them anymore, or if you want to refactor and do some changes, and sometimes it's required, you need to make sure that you have at least, every few weeks, some kind of a milestone when you do treat the codeless testing and do some, review of them. Before we start the demo and the technical introduction of the codeless, let me just, with your permission, run a short poll and get your take on what are you actually looking, based on your challenges, from a codeless solution in today's modern world. I'm not talking about old legacy codeless solutions. I'm talking about modern ones that are equipped with the right level of AI and other insights to help you get the full value out of these test cases. And what we see right now is that the majority of you actually want everything in one solution. I like it. I actually tend to agree that if you already moved and taken advantage of codeless as a technology, you want to maximize it, and just having it supporting your maintenance through the smart object locator, that's fine. But if it cannot reduce the time from a reporting, slicing, and dicing and analytics perspective, and if it doesn't have the right debugging capabilities or the execution at scale, you need to kind of complement these missing pieces elsewhere. So we do want to make sure that if you're looking into a codeless solution, it will have all these pillars. That's my belief, at least. So thank you guys for voting. I'll just share with all of you some of the the answers. So again, the majority believe that 75% of you believe that a codeless solution should have everything in that. Then the debugging and the reporting, which kind of even tie together, were also quite important. We will show you soon in a demo how Perfecto Codeless kind of aggregate all of these capabilities into one single solution. So when you talk about Perfecto Codeless, these are the pillars that we support. We provide you an AI-driven test maintenance capability through collecting, monitoring, and building on top of all the attributes of your website, giving them weights, as you can see here, the weight distribution, to make sure that if something changed either by the developer or in the website because it's dynamic, your script will not be impacted. That's kind of a self-healing algorithm that we introduce as part of the Perfecto Codeless.
So a couple of examples around for this piece.
Sure.
So many of the websites that we see today, many of the web services that we see today are based on React either native or JS.
Yep.
If we think about the biggest one of them, Facebook, is using or leveraging the same technology. And if you think about it, if you build your test today or SELENIUM test cases, and you handle objects by IDs, you identify object by, object ID. The thing with React is that every time that you open a new web page, you'll get new IDs. And that means that those tests are immediately doomed to be failing and to be flaky because of that way that you handle object. And object handling, as a matter of fact, is one of the biggest problems that we see in terms of, failures of test automation.
Yeah.
And we strongly believe that there should be a better way by technology to handle, these pieces. And you can see an example here of an analysis of a web page, and specifically an object within that DOM. That object have different position, like right, left, center, and size. There are specific text elements that are embedded into that object. It has siblings and child object like drop-down menus and other. And we can analyze up to 30 different attributes per each and every element. And assuming that one of them is changing, we still have the AI engine that analyzes the rest of the attributes of that object. And if they still stable, we auto-adjust the test case to handle the change of the object, make sure that the test passes, although there were changes, as you mentioned earlier on. This is really a game changer in the way that you maintain your test automation, and reduce significantly the flakiness issue that the industry, acknowledge and know as one of probably the biggest problems that we know at the moment for test automation.
Sure, and we'll soon show a live demo of how actually these things are being collected in runtime.
Just the last comment about that, it's a learning engine. Like every time that you execute the test, the precision level actually increases because of the ongoing learning of the page and changes that are occurring in the page.
Definitely. And the second and also important aspect, it's not just about setting up a lab or Selenium grid for your web application, which has IT considerations, technical considerations, keeping up with all the changes that are happening. Having Perfecto Codeless leveraging the Perfecto Cloud allows you to get unlimited and burst modes scaling for your testing requirements. You can see here that a test can run on an unlimited mobile and desktop web application, desktop browser configurations. We'll show you in a few seconds how it runs in live. But you can see here that you have almost unlimited scalability for test automation, and it comes within the solution. You don't need to set up anything on your premise. Next, you also have, and as mentioned in the previous slide on the best practices on how to start with Codeless. When you start with Codeless, you need to think with the end in mind. You need to think on how you scale your test automation, how you build on top of a test project, how you reuse objects and projects, and this is where the test management comes into play, and this is where our newly introduced UI allows you to build a new project, and within the project build new test cases, test scenarios, and then you tie them with tags and other sophisticated capabilities into the CI. You also have the debugging capabilities ranging from breakpoints, running in debug mode. So if you want to add a new step in between or after the previously recorded scenario, you can do it. If you want to manually bind a new element as a developer because you have a specific project with a very complex object identifier, as Zvika mentioned previously, you also have the ability to override a specific element and do it manually. So we also not just provide you the test management capability, the recording and the scaling, which is unlimited. We also allow you to debug and maintain in an ongoing basis your test activities. To summarize all of that and move to the demo, Perfecto Codeless allows you to, without setup, to build an infrastructure of test automation that complements SELENIUM code-based testing in a cloud-based environment to execute in an unlimited scale across different desktop permutations, all the permutations you can think of, with a very robust and AI-driven test maintenance, self-healing maintenance that allows you to have a much more robust and zero almost maintenance scripting for your web application, and it fits the process because it connects to the CI, it connects to the Jira reporting of defects, and it complements, again, SELENIUM all in one cloud. Let's move to the demo, and you will see everything kind of coming together. And in this demo, Perfecto just refreshed its entire perfecto.io website, and Zvika is going to take this website to almost a first ride. Hopefully, we won't find any bugs, and if we do, that's the purpose of the tool, to find bugs. It will also show you how you can connect it to different schedulers and CI servers, specifically Jenkins, and also how to look at the CI dashboard and other reporting capabilities that we have to get full quality visibility from your testing. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Zvika,
Thank you, Eran,
to show us how it works live.
Perfect. All right. So I hope that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So the new and latest addition to the Perfecto portal, as you can see, is Codeless Automation. It's right at the center of our offering today. Significant part of the creation. And I'll try to cover today, starting from the creation on a desktop web browser, how we build a test. And of course, we'll complement that with the test analysis with the smart analytics that Perfecto provides. And I won't skip, of course, as Eran mentioned, the CI/CD pipeline integration and the ability to schedule test cases as part of the automation. So from my landing page, the access to the portal, I'll go directly to the Codeless. And I've created earlier a project which is called Perfecto Website. This project refers in the environment to the URL, the Perfecto URL. You can see that it's perfecto.io, but if I prefer to use another type of site, I can take, for example, staging.perfecto.io or something else if I want. Any type of environment that I want to define, I can run, against multiple environments. So that piece that we talked earlier about the ability of a manual tester to amplify the test automation and run against multiple environments becomes key here. And again, I can define the set of the platforms that I want to run against. So I have a single platform that I've defined here, which is a Windows 10 with Chrome latest. And as part of my coverage, I want to make sure that the site is running properly on the latest -1 and latest -2. Perfecto, by the way, support up to 6 versions going backward. And Eran mentioned earlier the ability to embed code assets. So if I have any kind of execute script, thing that I want to run to call any kind of backend API or other services, I can do that and add those snippets here, as well as different visual files that I can upload, and of course the location where Perfecto have global support of its cloud-based desktop browser testing. Back to my test. As part of the project that I have that is called Perfecto website, and Eran talked earlier about the test management, I can add a new test, and we'll walk through the steps now. And we will add a test that is called perfecto.io website, and let's call it test drive.
No pressure, Zvika. I'm starting to measure the time.
All right. And then we want to add some tags, and let's add a tag that is called perfecto.io, and another one that we'll call website, and the third one will be probably smoke, just to have a couple of tags that will allow me later on, as Eran mentioned, to slice and dice the data. And I want to create these tests on the fly. I want to record my activity on the web page. So when I launch it, and I selected the default platform here with the Chrome latest on a Windows 10 machine running a specific screen resolution of 1024 on 768. Machine is in the US for the convenience of this test. And I get a clean image that Perfecto builds for me on that virtual machine. And we get the browser image, as you can see here. On the left bottom side, I have the breakpoint. I just took off the notification that shows me that I have a breakpoint on. So it means that I'm in debugging mode now, and I can conduct those actions. Those are, similar to standard Selenium actions and validations. The first one that I've just conducted was a a mouse click. And I can now add additional commands. And Eran, we have different types of, abilities to simulate Selenium commands on the web page. It can be a text validation. It can be an image validation.
Yeah.
It can be different conditional statements that I can run on that web page, or many other types of activities, like make sure if the object is visible or does not appear on the screen. So in this case, I will run another click. These are the actions, like the text element validation or image. So I'll run another click action here that will take us to the web section of Perfecto. And then I will go directly codeless, because that's the topic that we're all kind of talking today.
The hot topic.
The hot topic of today. And let's try to do something a little bit different here. And instead of just running clicks, let's try to validate maybe an element from a visual perspective. So we can scroll down. As you can see, the browser is fully interactive. And here we have a complex element with some kind of a roller. So if I'll click on the right side of the roller, and let's see that we can load another image here. So we talked earlier about the AI based maintenance, and we have a sample here of the pie chart of the weights of that element.
Yep.
So let's validate that this image actually appears on screen. So we can rename the image, and we can call it AI-based object analysis. That's the type of the image, and again, we want to make sure that the action and that the element is presented or is displayed on screen. You can see that we have different options here, including hovering and other advanced Selenium functionality. And we'll add this step. You can see, of course, on the left side of the screen around that every action that I'm taking here, every new step that I'm adding here is being docked on the left side as part of the test flow.
Yeah.
We'll continue scrolling down and, not just validate elements. We can also try and validate text. So, Aran, you just talked about the benefits of Codeless, like the fact that it's based on AI and machine learning, and that it's like all-in-one solution where we can actually record everything and how fast it is.
Yep.
And I know that clock is ticking, and you're measuring the time that it takes me to build the test. But
4 minutes now.
yeah, so let's validate the text as the final step for this short test.
Yep.
To show that we actually see this title on this section of the page, and we've just added pretty simply a textual validation to the page.
And from a test best practices perspective, this can be a nice anchor for your test automation flow to assess, okay, I reached a specific point in my script, and this can be like a check whether to move on or to highlight that I have some issues. And by the way, when Zvika recorded the image AI-based object analysis, he had two options. One of them was a validation, and the other one was a condition. So he could have selected a condition, and if the image is not displayed or not found, something else will happen. So we can add sophisticated scenarios into this flow as well. It's fully supported by the tool.
So think about it like SELENIUM assertions. Everything that is available in any SELENIUM-based framework today, whether these are soft assertion or standard assertion, can be conducted here as well.
Yeah.
And just before I close the test, we talked earlier about the debugging mode. I can get out of the debugging mode and disable it and have a full interaction with the browser. You know, if I want to change something in the browser definition, if I want to click on back or refresh, change anything in the URL line, use the scroll bar on the right side of the page. So everything is fully supported here in terms of the level of control that we have, and then I can go back, as you can see, to debugging mode.
Yep.
At this stage, I will take off the breakpoint, and session will be terminated. Perfecto kills the machine. There is no reuse of machine, so every time that you run a session with Perfecto, you get a clean machine, a clean image, even if part of your test includes the validation of cookie dismissal, you'll get there, and that would be probably the best validation for you to know that you got a clean machine. And then from here, I can either see my test case in a canvas mode. So this is the logical flow of the test itself. Each and every command that was recorded appears here. And if we'll take one of them as an example, we can actually see either the bindings of the element or the weights, the breakdown of the weights that Eran you just talked about earlier.
Yep.
We can see each and every element and the relevant attributes that this element got.
Yep.
And as mentioned earlier, every execution of that test case is using a learning machine that makes it more precise and more accurate. I can also, from the canvas mode, I can add any type of command that makes sense to me, including those conditional statements that we talked about earlier. I can either parameterize my test and use
data-driven testing.
Exactly, data-driven testing, and use an external variable file that I'm injecting dynamically to the test. And some nice examples that we have that customers that are using that from the banking industry. So part of the login process includes security question, like what is your favorite cat, the model of your first car, your type of preferred vacation, and many other questions. Now those questions are presented randomly on the page. They are not set, and repeat themselves in the same order. So you need a conditional statement, and you need to be able to deal with a dynamic data table there. And Codeless know exactly how to deal with that and embed that as part of the test flow. And that's very important piece of that. So we have completed our test creation, Eran.
It took 4 minutes without my interruption.
Yeah, and now we want to run it. We want to make this test an automated test. Yeah. So we can run the test again. And we can run it now, not against one platform, the one that we've created. We want to run it now against 3 platforms, like latest -1, and latest -2. And when we'll execute the test now, we'll be able to see that the test is running against, all three platforms, and see that, from our execution management layer. Also, in case that we want to be able to monitor some of the actions that are happening there. So if we go to our live stream, we can actually see the execution now. So we have 74, 75, and 73 already running. If we'll open that, we can see the test case while it is executed, skip between one execution to the other. And I think it's also the right time, if we start to talk about Scale-Run, to go back and talk a little bit about how we can actually take it and make it part of the pipeline or bring those execution really to scale.
Definitely.
So in my test management, I have also the job layer, the piece that brings my test cases to the pipeline. So I can create a new job, and we'll call it Perfecto.io website test suite, and now I can add tests to my job. This is the test that we've created now, the test drive, so we'll add it, but I have more tests that I've created earlier, and I can add them too, and now I have a suite of 3 tests, or a job of 3 tests that is built here, and I can either schedule it or integrate it with CI.
Yeah.
Now, scheduling comes where, the team doesn't have access to CI, and we know that it happens, the manual testing team is sometimes offshore or in a different location, and CI is owned by a different team or by DevOps team, and there is no direct access, but we still want to take the test that we've created and schedule it and run it in a timely fashion way, like every 2 hours, every night, or every 2 or 3 days. So this is where I can add my schedule, and I can call this scheduler Perfecto.io scheduled test case or scheduled job. I can run it against Perfecto.io or against multiple environments and select, of course, the type of platform that I want to use.
Yeah.
And I can set the intervals of time. I can run it every 30 minutes or every 2 hours. I'll select every hour. And we can, of course, pick the dates or the day during the week that I want this test to run and add that external variable file just in case that I have one. And that's it. My test is now scheduled and is part of an ongoing motion.
And think about this exact same thing that you have done. You could have configured it against the staging, against the test, against the production environment in just one click. So you have one test being executed and validating through different environments.
So from a sequential mode where things are running one after the other, a business tester can become an automation guy that executes things at scale. That's a significant kind of uplift, to the speed of everything that is being executed during the sprint. And let's have a word about the CI. So see how simple it is. We have integration with, most of the usual suspects in terms of CI. All I have to do is copy the snippet that I have here, either a standard Jenkins implementation if I need to install NPM on my Jenkins machine, or just use a CLI that I can, again, copy from here and go directly to my job, configure it, as part of the shell command that I have here. I've scheduled my test here to run every hour, and I have here my execute shell command. I'm running that CLI with, the relevant clouded Perfecto, embedding my security token, and defining the set of machine, and of course I want to see the job name and build number, also kind of being presented in Perfecto. And from here all I have to do is build my test again and run it as a scheduled job from CI, and have it, as part of the pipeline, as we just showed from Jenkins. So here it runs again. To complete the overall kind of view, the reporting is also a critical element. So everything that we've recorded around is also displayed as part of our smart analytics and reporting. You can see it in a full screen size mode, the entire execution that we had here. access to all the different artifacts that are tied to that test case. And of course, if I found issue and I have the need to report, I can also immediately open a JIRA ticket to the relevant team and make sure that, all the metadata that is relevant is being embedded here and sent to the right team. So very simple way to bring everything fully to the CI/CD pipeline and close the loop. And that's it. I have a JIRA ticket that is being submitted here, just in case that someone needs to get that back. So we covered, the test creation, the integration to CI/CD, the scheduling, and of course the ability to enjoy the same level of visibility of any automated test running from Selenium. Guys, this is taking the manual testing and bring it really to automation at scale and to the CI/CD pipeline. With the time that we have around, is there any significant question that we want to take now from the audience?
I think we are short in time, so what we'll do, we'll just stay a few more minutes, and
of course.
So with that, I just want to thank Zvika and everyone that joined today's webinar. For those of you who are not familiar, Perfecto is part of Perfor, so it's part of a bigger company. So just as a thing that you need to know and acknowledge, we are happy that you joined today's webinar. We have demonstrated the power of Codeless and how it can bring different practitioners together. Zvika demonstrated the entire flow of creation execution in a scalable mode in a cloud-based lab, together with a very smart reporting and analytics environment. So if you are in a need and you need to boost your test automation coverage, you do have some Selenium and it's not working right, we do recommend that you start exploring AI machine learning based solution like Codeless and see how they can fit into your process and your CI. So we can demonstrate to you that in less than 20 minutes, it can be done end-to-end plus reporting. So feel free to give it a try. And with that, I would like to thank everyone and you, Zvika, for being with us. And we hope to see you in the next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.